Hey, welcome to the TAC Talks podcast. TAC Talks is a place where I sit down with some of the brightest and most influential people in the tech industry in the UK. We talk about their journey to where they are now, what they have going on behind the scenes, and we talk about some of the hot topics that I know people are going to want to know the answer to. When we started TACT, we were very passionate about giving people in the tech industry a voice, and with TAC Talks, we've done just that. I hope you enjoy the episode. Hi, welcome to the TAC Talks podcast. Today, I'm joined by Kelly Wilson, Head of Delivery over at Nimble Approach. Hi, Kelly.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Thank you for coming on. You found it okay, which was good. Yeah, everyone seems to go to the coffee shop next door a lot of the time.
Did go for a coffee first. Set myself up.
Fair enough. So look, I always like to start these things for anyone who doesn't know who Kelly Wilson is. Who is Kelly Wilson?
Head of Delivery at Nimble Approach. I have a background in the military, so 14 and a half years, 5 in the Navy, 9.5 in the RAF, something I'd always wanted to do, so really loved it. I played rugby for the RAF and for the Great Britain Armed Forces team, and then when I left, I decided to go into project management, which ended up in sort of software delivery, and then in head of delivery. It's been an interesting journey, and I've had some great people support me along the way, which has been perfect.
Wow. So incredibly well spoken, which means you're not a Manchester native. Where did you grow up?
So I actually grew up in Essex. I'm from Essex. I spent probably half up till about the age of 10 there, or 7. And then I moved to a place called Shotley near Ipswich. Spent some time in Suffolk. Thankfully, I don't have the farmer accent from there either. Don't get me wrong, my family do sound very much like they're from Essex, bless them. But yeah, I've been very fortunate in the fact that I think through being in the military as well, I've kind of been able to just keep a standard accent.
Yeah, standard accent. Nice.
Don't align to anywhere.
Good. So what were you like as a kid?
Tomboy.
Yeah.
Complete tomboy. I think my mum told me once that she bought me a lovely pram, which I turned into a go-kart.
That's cool.
Climbing trees, getting in trouble, getting stuck up trees, that sort of thing was kind of my childhood. Incredible.
Was your mum devastated when she saw you racing down the street in your pram?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't allowed. You know the shiny shoes you used to get as a kid? Like you see little girls with their shiny shoes and the socks turned over.
Yeah.
I had to have like Clark's sturdy shoes because every time I had shiny shoes, I'd scratch them within 30 seconds because I'd be up a tree.
You with a pair of like caterpillar boots on. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So your, and again, you touched on it slightly there, but your route into your current role is quite not traditional, I guess, which is incredible, which is fantastic. The great thing about the tech sector is that, nothing's traditional. Yeah, so can you run us through that, I guess, your journey to where you are now?
Yeah, sure. So when I was younger, my mum was ex-Navy and my dad was ex-Army. My uncle was Army. My granddad, sort of all kind of military-ish. And from the age of about 2.5, I'd always wanted to join the Navy. My mum sort of told me all about it, something I'd always wanted to do. So sort of hit 18, joined the Navy. Loved it. I mean, most people go to sort of university and things, and it's their kind of school of life. The Navy was most definitely the school of life for me. There was a lot of drinking involved. It's what you do. And from there, I sort of left, went into Civilian Street, worked in insurance for a year. Absolutely hated it, and went back into the military. My reasoning for going back into the military was more to do with sport, because I loved playing sport, and I used to go to circuits every lunchtime, which I could do in the military. I could also get time off work to go and play sport. So, yeah, I did a lot of sport, really. Not a lot of work.
Fair enough. And obviously, you joined the military because of your upbringing. What was it about the military that attracted you to it, apart from the fact that your entire family was there?
I think it was the camaraderie, the chance to travel, and the sport, really. Anything to play a little bit of sport and get some time off work to go and do some.
Was it always rugby?
No. When I was in the Navy, I think my sport was probably drinking when I was in the Navy, having a good time. But it was more rugby when I joined the RAF. I met a guy called Phil Cavanagh, who ended up being my rugby coach for quite a few years. And one of my very good friends, Emma Walker, who is ex-military, also ex-Navy and ex-RAF, she lived next door to me and introduced me to the rugby coach and the rugby club at RAF Lucas. And from there, it just kind of spiraled and I loved it. I just wanted to play.
Incredible. What countries did you visit with the Navy?
So with the Navy, I served out in the Second Gulf War, so Optelic 2. And then I did a few other places with the Navy. I did more travelling probably with the RAF, served in a couple of different locations, and then did a lot of adventure training, which allowed me to travel some more. So I went to Gibraltar, went to the Caribbean 3 times, sailing on adventure training. But yeah, it was fantastic. I also went to South Africa on rugby tour, so yeah, it was good.
Incredible! Wow. Okay. So how did you go from the military? You mentioned you went on to Civvy Street and you went to insurance, which it seems so the polar opposite to what you've been doing. And then how did you get to where you are now?
So that was sort of my year off the insurance element, and then when I went back into the RAF, I got promoted to corporal quite quickly, and then I went up to RAF Leeming, worked there for a few years, and there were some contractors that were working with us, and they talked to me about project management when I'd put my notice in, and that kind of pushed me down that route. So I did some of my project management courses as part of my budget that you get for leaving. And from there, I started with a company called FDM, which were great and just opened some doors for me. And then I went to go and work for the University College of Football and Business, UCFB. There was a guy called Phil, who was my boss, who employed me, and he was just great. He taught me so much, and that was really the basis for me then going into software delivery and moving to where I've got to today.
Was there a ramp-up period for you to trying to get your head around the technical side of things, or was it quite quick?
No, I don't think so. I think because when I was in the military, I was communications for the Navy, and then I was IT with the RAF. So I'd spent a year of training learning about IT and servers and how to fix computers. So yes, I didn't know about software, so to speak, as in coding, but I had that kind of broader knowledge, which supported me in what I wanted to do. Thankfully, I don't need to know the detail of the tech.
Yeah, very true. But it wasn't a large leap to then get to...
No, not at all. It was, very good working with the developers that also then sort of show you some of the stuff. Although I do look at their screens most of the time and just got no idea what they're doing. No idea what they're talking about.
It's better not to ask. I've always found.
Google is your friend.
Yes. So your role now, head of delivery over at Nimble Approach. Again, I was speaking to Vaz on one of the podcasts. Also works at Nimble Approach, and we were talking about how Nimble Approach has just come out of almost like nowhere. As a recruiter, you kind of hear names, and then all of a sudden, all the candidates we were working with, like, oh, I've got an interview with Nimble Approach, or I've got an offer from Nimble Approach. We're like, what the hell? And then now it's like the massive name, 3 offices, Manchester, Leeds, Sheffield, I believe. And so I guess so first of all, what's your job at Nimble Approach? How would you describe it?
Getting involved in lots of stuff. Yeah, looking after delivery as a whole. So we do software delivery. There's lots of different styles and teams we can put in place to kind of support people's needs and businesses' needs. Ultimately, I am accountable for delivery health and how we do across all of those. And we are in the midst of putting some more structure and supporting frameworks into places to enable that. The thing that sold it for me with Nimble Approach, I think, is the culture. I've worked at a lot of places. I tend to move sort of every year to 18 months. I like the exposure to different areas, but Nimble Approach for me has been one of the best places to work from a culture perspective. They know, do you know what, we may not have everything right now, because I don't think any company ever does, But they're so open and honest and looking to see where they can improve and taking everybody's ideas on board and trying to give people autonomy to do their jobs and allow them to expand and explore the areas that they want to explore in. So I think that is probably a big part of why it's grown so much, along with sort of all the contacts people are meeting, because they're doing such a fabulous job.
Wow. So are you saying the Nimble Approach kind of empowers you to go and explore things?
Yeah,
try things out?
100%. The way that the company is set up, we've got lots of practices, which a lot of people have, certainly in software companies, and they call them guilds. They have autonomy to look into things that they want to look into and explore and to build their practices ultimately, which I think is great, and it gives them exposure to different areas. It's something that we're working on at the moment. It's how we give people more exposure to different areas of things that they haven't been involved in, which will help with their career progression. And again, it all centers around people more than anything else. And for me, that's one of my passions, because where delivery is concerned, if people are happy, you're going to get good delivery because they're enjoying their job and they want to do well and they want to show how they can do. Whereas when you've got unhappy people, that's when you start to have the problems.
Of course. And I need to mention that obviously you've just been shortlisted for an award. I'm going to butcher the name of the award, but what's the award called?
It's the Veterans Award, so it's the Role Model of the Year award for the English veterans.
Incredible. That's so amazing. And do you feel like going for that award and being nominated for that award, do you think Nimble Approach had a hand in that, being able to give you that time to?
Yes, the fact that they've given me the opportunity to be head of delivery.
Yeah.
Head of delivery is a role that I wanted to get to. It was like my ambition, sort of by the time of 40. Thankfully, I made it before then, which is great. But yeah, they've been fantastic in helping me and supporting me in my career whilst I've been with them. I didn't want to be put forward for the award a few years ago when somebody had contacted me about it, because I wasn't quite ready. But now I feel like I'm at a position as head of delivery where I can start to influence things and be more supportive towards veterans and how we get them involved. And one of the things that I've done at previous companies is worked with sort of the board to work out how we can include bringing more veterans on board. The skill set that veterans have, I think, is so broad and can align itself to many different roles. So it's something that I'm really interested in, and certainly now I'm at this level, I have the opportunity to support further, I think.
That's incredible. Yeah, because that, again, it was such a hot topic right now is the talent shortage, and everyone's complaining about it, but there's so many avenues that I think go unexplored, one of which is ex-armed forces people who have this, like you said, incredible skill set that could be so valuable if they were just given the chance to get the foot in the door. Of course, we know why you're so passionate about that as a topic. I guess, what do you think businesses could do better to help armed forces people get into tech?
So one of the things that I think is we see in most businesses is most businesses have some form of academy where they are working with university students and people coming out of university. And there's a lot of those things in places now to support that and to bring people along and teach people how the ways of working. That kind of model, I think, would work for veterans. It's the transferring of skill sets from the military. So, something as simple as updating what in the military is called local work instructions, which is how to do something. It's like step-by-step guides. These are things that people have never done potentially in civilian industry, but it's a standard thing that you would do in the military on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, is just updating those types of things. Being able to transfer those skills into civilian industry and putting processes in place is a massive thing. Every business works on processes and structure, and it's something that military people have in spades.
Yeah, definitely. Discipline, structure, work ethic, everything like that. Do you think there's any particular skill sets that you took from the military that have helped you in your job, not just structure and discipline, anything else?
Yeah, definitely. If I'm honest, I think being in rugby helped me as well. The difference between the military and civilian industry, I find, is that in the military it's very sort of top down, there's a structure. that's how it works. Whereas when you come into civilian industry, especially in consultancy and in software delivery, it's a very flat structure. And it's about listening to people and supporting people and helping people, where you do have that in the military, but because it's quite sort of top down, you don't kind of appreciate it as much. Whereas because I played rugby and I was the captain of the rugby team for a little bit, that coaching element that I got from that has been incredible help for me in my career and understanding how to deal with different types of people.
Yeah, and adaptability. Yes. Okay, that's brilliant. So, any businesses that are watching this podcast or are already taking steps towards trying to help ex-armed forces people into their businesses, any advice for them? Anything that, as you said, if they were putting together an academy of sorts, what things do they need to bear in mind?
There are so many charities, military charities out there that they could reach out to. You can Google and come up with 150 just on one page of military charities that are out there that want to support. There are Facebook pages, there are LinkedIn groups that are all there to try and support and help veterans. And I think that we just need to be reaching out to them. There are paid resources and paid ways that you can do things, but there are also free versions of things that you can do, such as just getting your job description up on one of the Facebook groups or any of those types of things. There is two different types, I think, as well, in the sense of you can help people as they're directly coming out of the military, but there are a lot of veterans that have come out of the military, have maybe gone straight into a job, which is great, and then maybe fallen on hard times later on. And it's helping those people as well, not closing yourself off just to those that are directly coming out of the military, because the other people have also got that skill set that is ingrained for life.
Of course, and I think a thing probably to bear in mind is that these people who have been in the military for a long period of time, is mental health coming out of the military a big thing?
Yes, definitely. I think it depends sort of where you've served and what you've done, but it's almost like you're institutionalized, because depending on certainly what military you serve with as well, it's your life, it's your family, it's day to day. You're not just going to work, coming home, and that's it. You know, certainly in the Navy, you live on ship, you all live together. You're almost in a bubble for those years that you are in there. So when you come out and you almost lose that support system. So, you know, yes, you might have your parents or your friends and things at home, but it's not the same as going home and seeing the same people day in, day out that you can offload to and you can talk about. And, you know, you have your own language in the military, whether that's the Navy, the RAF, there are all things that you talk about and you say that people just don't understand in civilian industry. And there is a level of banter that is probably not quite acceptable in civilian industry. And it's learning that balance and learning how that works. I've got a neighbour who is 86, 87 years old. He's ex-military, single guy, been on his own his entire life. And the way people take him is that he's really rude and just not quite right in the way that he talks to people. But it's just ex-military banter. He served in the war. He's done his time, and it's just the way that he's lived his life. So it's being able to take that and kind of tone it down a little bit, I would suggest, that makes it very difficult for people, because they need to get used to that.
Of course, it's because I think for anyone who hasn't served in the military, it's such an alien concept, because it's so different from day-to-day life. So it is quite hard to understand, I guess, what the day-to-day structure of a military job is. So I guess trying to work with someone to get them out of that mentality must be quite tough, I bet. But that's amazing to hear that there's so many charities that are helping with that. And I'll get some links off you before you leave as well. I'll put them in the podcast description. And but it's amazing. So at Nimble Approach, is that something that you're working towards now to be able to do?
So not right at the second. It's certainly something I talked about in my interview with them when I met the CEO. I hope that it is something that we can explore in the future. At the moment, we're just starting with the academy ourselves. So it's none of these things are quick moving, are they, in a business? And I think the bigger you get as a company, it's like a big ship. The smaller the rudder. It takes a lot longer to kind of turn things, but that's not a bad thing. It just means that you put in the effort and time into making sure you get it right.
Love that. And knowing Nimble Approach, from what I've heard, I'm sure it's something that, how open they are to new ideas and how empowering they are to the people that work there. Yeah, I'm sure it's something that will probably happen. Again, you coming out of the military and going into project management and eventually delivery, there must have been some times you really messed up and screwed up things. And I don't know if you want to admit them. Was there anything in particular that stands in your head that you like, that was a time I really messed up, but then learn from it?
I can't think of anything to hand, if I'm totally honest. I mean, the way I work is that any kind of mess up, I'm very open and honest with the client, with internally, so that we've got visibility at all the way through the project. So I don't think I've ever been in a situation where it has gone horribly, horribly, horribly wrong that we've then had to kind of take a step back. I mean, yes, there's times when we've been over budget, or there have been times where we maybe put the wrong team profile in or something along those lines. But I think as long as you are open and honest and have everything visible,
sure,
it's always a learning curve. Every project is completely different, so it's always a big learning curve.
To any ex-military people who are watching this podcast, is there any particular piece of advice you would give them if they're going to civilian street and trying to get that first job in civilian life?
Just believe in yourselves. It's incredible the skill sets that people have. And I mean, the work ethic generally of people from the military is amazing, because you have spent your life not leaving until the job's done. Yeah. So, yes, there are a lot of ways that we work today where it is very much about, no, you shouldn't work over your hours, and which I totally understand. And it is, you've got to look after your own mental health. But the ethic generally of people in the military is you do work until you get it done, and you're able to just really, really help and support and get things concentrated and done to a really good standard. So believe in yourselves, I think, and don't sell yourself short.
I like it. So it's like extreme conscientiousness is perhaps a trait that military people would have.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Great. You mentioned that one of your goals was to get to a head of delivery position before you were 40. Incredible, you've done it. Have you got any goals for before you're 50?
I have spoken to my husband about this on a few times, and we've banded around some ideas, but nothing really. I can't quite decide what I want to do. We've talked about the idea of sort of building a business and things like that.
Awesome.
But I can't really decide what I want now. I think I just need to still get my head into what I'm doing and excel at that first of all. And then once I'm, maybe in a couple of years, I'll think, oh, what else can I do? How else can I help? I mean, the biggest thing for me is being able to support military veterans now. It's something that I want to kind of look into, and how I can support on that more often.
That's incredible. For people who, because I'm a big believer in, I think goal setting is such an important thing you need to do. You need to write it down. You need to have clear, smart goals, obviously, to make sure that you are progressing in every aspect of life. How, for someone who's out there trying to set goals but doesn't really know how to, is there any particular advice you would give them?
Mentors.
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
Find yourself a mentor. Find yourself somebody that just is where you potentially want to be, and talk through things with them. I sit with the people that I line manage anywhere and everywhere, and ask them to talk about the different spaces that they're potentially interested in. Go and have a look at different job descriptions. You might be interested from an Agile perspective in Agile coaching. Well, have a look at an Agile coach job description. Does all of that fit what you want to do? Maybe not. Okay, but have a look at a delivery lead. Look at all of those different things and find somebody that you are, I was going to say envious, that's not the word, but that you look at and really think, wow, they're doing well, so that you can use them as a mentor and utilize their path to see if it's something that would be interested to you, or they can talk through different ideas with you because of the path that they've been on.
Yeah, and all the mistakes they've made you can avoid, preferably.
Wow, you say that, but I'm somebody that needs to make my own mistakes, very much so. My mum could tell me till she's blue in the face not to do something, even at my age now, and I'd still need to do it myself to learn that. And I think that making mistakes is what helps to shape who you are today and helps to make you better at what you do.
Yeah, I think hardship is so important, isn't it, in your life? I think you always see, you might look at, and you might be envious of people who haven't been through hard times, but you kind of, I always feel like I feel sorry for people who haven't been through hard times, because then their barometer for what they can handle is pretty low. So, if, as they get older, something really bad happens and the head completely falls off because they're like, oh my God, what is this? Whereas someone who perhaps had a tough time, earlier on, something bad happens, they're like, oh, okay, I've handled stuff like this before, easy.
My husband and I were speaking about the exact same thing the other day,
Oh, wow.
just about that and how people cope with things. Like you say, people that have had sort of a charmed life, generally when they get older and something bad does happen, it affects them potentially more because of those things. I mean, I had stuff happen as a child, and I had counselling, and I would advise anyone and everyone to go to counselling if they've ever suffered with anything, because it is incredibly freeing and helps to, again, shape you and support how you move forward.
And again, it just, I think the fact that stigma's being raised about it is incredible, and people are feeling more open to talk about it is brilliant. So earlier on, you're talking about mentorship and finding a mentor. You yourself, again, have been in so many different sectors and tried loads of different things out. Have you crossed paths with anyone in your life, in your career, that you would give props to and be like, this person's really, really helped me?
Probably two people.
Amazing.
Phil, who was my boss at UCFB.
Okay.
He was an incredible help to me, really helped shape my career, I think, after I left the military, gave me the opportunity to work at UCFB as a project manager. And yeah, I couldn't shout about him enough. He was absolutely fantastic and really supportive and helped me get to where I am, I would say. And to be fair, my mother, she's just always a shining light for me. And as frustrating as it is, mums are always right and all that, but yeah, she's just the person that I look up to for anything and everything.
Brilliant. Big shout out to Phil and Kelly's mum for giving us the amazing Kelly Wilson. And I know you're respecting this question. You're obviously working for Nimble Approach, loving it, great business. You get to work with so many different businesses day to day, which again, incredible. Say I gave you £1 million, I'm not going to, but as a heads up. Say I did. What business would you set up? Do you think there's a gap in the market that you'd want to fill, or is there anything?
Yeah, so we talked about it a little bit, or touched on it earlier. For me, it's about getting military people and veterans into work. So there are so many charities out there, and there are lots of businesses that kind of work in and doing the recruitment element of that, or working and trying to recruit people into roles. I would like to look at how you set up a cookie cutter solution of that kind of academy for every business. So rather than they've got to go through all that hard work of how they set something up and what they do and how they do that, there's just a cookie cutter solution where they say, right, we're going to start employing military. Here we go. That's it. They need to do this, and this. If they do those 5 things, they can start employing military people. And the reason that I would like to look at something like that is because it can span so many different industries, rather than kind of siloing myself into just software delivery and that kind of space. I'd like to have something that we could put in place that, will work in the energy industry, in the production industry, in the school industry, education, all of those things where they could just, it's almost like a pop-up thing where they suddenly say, right, we're going to employ this now, and that's going to work.
So almost like a curriculum for business. I love that. That'd be amazing. Because then it takes the thinking out of it, and everything like that. It's just go through this curriculum. When you complete this, you will be ready for civilian life, and you will, wow, incredible. Okay. And last question, and I'll let you go. Say this was your last day on Earth.
Yes.
And apart from spending time with family and loved ones, obviously, and being on this podcast, what would you be spending your time doing? I think I know the answer.
If I'm totally honest, I know it's sort of spending time with your family and stuff. I just sat at home with my husband.
Nice.
That's it.
Yeah.
Sat at home with my husband, probably eating. He'd want a curry.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, having a glass of wine. That's all I'd like to do.
It's simple things. It's simple things. And when you can appreciate those small moments and be in the moment, that's when they are truly special. I was expecting you to say you'd be playing rugby or some sort of sport. No.
No, just being at home with my husband. My sporting life, unfortunately, has come to an abrupt end due to multiple surgeries on my foot.
Oh, God. I remember you saying this. Yes. Yeah. How is it now? Is it still?
It's okay. Yeah, it's fine. But it's not really in a place for me to go and play rugby anymore. No. I'm too old and things break quite easily.
So yeah, any excuse to drink wine and eat curry.
Drink wine and for my husband eat curry, I'd rather have pizza, but you
know. Nice. Well, brilliant. Well, look, I'm so glad we got to have you on. Best of luck at the awards. I'm sure you'll do fantastically well. And excited to see where Nimble is in the next 12 to 18 months.
Great. Thank you so much for having me.